Was still in there, and at the end of the day, the work was done before this tournament. So it's not, not everything is on the line here. So, but I'm still super motivated and really want to win, yeah.
World number 29 to world number 45 inches, 7 days. This didn't happen because she got injured, nor because she retired from a tournament, and certainly not because she lost in the first round to an unknown qualifier. She beat Laura Siegemund. She beat Magda Linette, the woman who had just ended Iga Swiatek's 7-4 match opening round winning streak. She won 2 matches at a WTA 1000 event against experienced top 6-0 professionals. The WTA's ranking system looked at those 2 wins, looked at a round of 16 finish at the Sunshine Double, and looked at a player who has beaten 5 top 1-0 opponents in the last 12 months, and then punished her by 16 places. 16 spots, the biggest single-week ranking drop of any player on the entire WTA Tour. It wasn't the player who lost in round 1 or the player who withdrew due to injury. It was Alex Eala who suffered the most severe punishment for reaching the round of 16. Her fans, 115 million of them, are absolutely livid. Let's talk about exactly what happened, why it happened, and why the WTA's own ranking system is the most counterproductive structure in professional sports for players who achieve something extraordinary before the algorithm has time to catch up.
Well, I think that has to be the highlight of my career so far. Like you said, that's what put me on the map, but it just, everything clicked after that. And I look back at that moment and I just think, wow, like it was insane. And it's crazy to believe that
the moment she is describing, that insane, jaw-dropping, historic moment at Miami 2025, was where a wild card ranked 140th beat Ostapenko, then Keys, then Swiatek back-to-back. Reaching the first WTA 1000 semifinal in Philippine history earned her 390 ranking points. Those 390 points launched her from 140th in the world to the top 100 almost overnight. They are points she has been carrying as the backbone of her ranking ever since, and the WTA just deleted all of them in a single week. Here is exactly how it works. Pay attention, because this is where it gets genuinely infuriating. The WTA rankings operate on a 5-2-week rolling system, meaning players lose the points they earned from the same tournament the previous year once that event starts again. The moment the 2026 Miami Open began, the moment the draw was released and the first ball was struck, those 390 points from her 2025 semifinal vanished from her total. They were completely gone, replaced only by whatever she could earn this year. She had already taken a hit at the start of the tournament, sliding to number 50 inches, the unofficial live rankings, as points from her breakthrough run last year expired. She hadn't even played a match yet. She hadn't even walked onto the court. While she was still in the locker room preparing to face Laura Siegemund, the WTA's ranking system had already quietly dropped her 21 places before she served a single point or won a single game. Let's make that crystal clear. Alex Eala arrived at the Miami Open as world number 29. She reached the round of 16, beat 2 players, and played professional, competitive tennis, yet she left as world number 45. This was the biggest ranking fall of any player in the entire WTA weekly update. Now, here is the part that should make every single person watching this video genuinely angry, because it is not just unfair to Alex Eala. It is a structural problem built into the WTA's foundation that punishes breakthrough players more savagely than anyone else. Think about what the 5-2-week system actually means in practice. The better you perform in your breakout year, the more extraordinary your results, and the more historic your run, the heavier the punishment becomes when the calendar rolls around 12 months later. Eala needed to earn 390 ranking points just to stand still and maintain her ranking from the previous year. She needed to reach the same semifinal round at the same tournament against a harder draw as a known quantity. With every opponent having spent 12 months studying her game, she needed to replicate the single greatest week of her career, a week she described as insane, just to avoid being punished and to break even. When she reached the round of 16 instead of the semifinal, the system didn't acknowledge her growth or her wins. It didn't acknowledge that a round of 16 at a WTA 1000 event is an exceptional result for a 2-0-year-old in only her second season at this level. It simply looked at the numbers, saw 120 points instead of 390, and removed 270 from her total. Eala's total ranking points dropped from 1,525 to 1,255, enabling multiple players to rise above her without winning a single match more than they already had. These were players who did nothing new, but simply sat at their current rankings while the system subtracted Eala's historic points and handed those positions back to the field. She didn't lose to them, and she wasn't outperformed by them. The calendar simply moved and the algorithm ran. Consequently, 16 players climbed above her because a computer deleted the points from the greatest week of her professional life. That is the WTA ranking system at work. I can confirm Miami is still the best. I'll always have a special place in my heart for this tournament. The first Sunshine Double is done. She posted this after a 6-0, 6-2 loss to Muchova. After the ranking crash, and after the algorithm stripped her of 16 places, she still posted gratitude for the tournament that just cost her everything the ranking system said she was worth. She understands something the WTA ranking system does not. A number on a screen does not measure what she has built. It does not measure the fact that the 2026 Miami Open placed her on center court as a seeded player, whereas a year ago she arrived as a wild card, nobody. It does not measure the sold-out stadiums, the fans who bought plane tickets from Manila to Miami, the Filipino flags in every corner of Hard Rock Stadium, the queues stretching around the building, or the 280,000 views on her highlights within hours. The WTA's 5-2-week rolling system has one single input: tournament results. Everything else, the cultural impact, the market growth, the 48% ticket sales surge in Dubai, and the organization's momentum counts for 0 points.
So it doesn't matter if I win the tournament in Miami or if I lose first round, I know I'm here and I'm here to stay. Yeah.
She spoke before the tournament started, knowing what was coming. She knew the 390 points were going and that her ranking would fall regardless of her results. She said, "Run it back anyway." She then went out and beat Siegemund in 3 hours and 20 minutes, beat Lynette in straight sets, and fought Muchova, the Qatar Open champion and world number 14, until the match slipped away. Critics want to make the Muchova scoreline the story, highlighting the 6-0, 6-2 loss. Here is the actual headline. Alex Eala completed the Sunshine Double, competing in both Indian Wells and Miami in the same season. She reached the round of 16 at both WTA 1000 events in consecutive weeks. In only her second season as a full-time tour player, she is ranked 45th in the world at 20 years old. That is the headline. A 20-year-old, finishing with back-to-back round of 16 results at the two biggest events outside of the Grand Slams is a feat many spend entire careers trying to achieve. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because this is where the narrative shifts from infuriating to electric. It moves from a story about what the WTA took to a story about what Eala is going to take back. Eala's path back to the top 30 is mathematically clear. A semifinal finish at the Linz Open in Austria, the WTA 500 event she enters from April 6th to 12th, gives her 195 additional ranking points, pushing her total to 1,450. The current 30th ranked player, Cristina Buxa of Spain, has 1,446 points. Eala only needs to reach the semifinal of her opening clay event, a tournament where she has 0 points to defend because she didn't play it last year to be back in the top 30. It gets dramatically better from there. A Linz final gives Eala 325 additional points for a total of 1,580, pushing her to a new career best of world number 26. A Linz title gives her 500 points, totaling 1,755, and a new career high of world number 23. That is a jump from 45th to 23rd. In 1 week on clay, a surface she admits has room for improvement. With 0 points to defend, a fresh draw, and opponents who have no specific game plan or footage for her on red dirt, she has a clean slate. I'm super excited for the clay court swing. I think that's one surface where I definitely have a lot of room for improvement, so I'll love to see how it'll pan out this year. Room for improvement on a surface that naturally suits left-handed, heavy topspin baseline players. Clay slows the ball down and neutralizes power serving, addressing the exact weakness that Brad Gilbert identified as her critical development area. Her wide lefty serve will create angles that clay court baseliners have never had to process from a Filipino opponent. After Linz, she heads to Stuttgart for the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, then to the Mutua Madrid Open featuring Sabalenka, Gauff, and the full elite depth of the WTA. Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and then Roland Garros. 5 weeks, 5 tournaments, all on clay. Because she didn't compete at these events last year, everything she earns is pure gain with no subtraction or 5 two-week punishment. That is why her rivals are panicking. The fans who are furious right now need to redirect that energy because the ranking will self-correct. It always does for players of this caliber. A player who has 0 points to defend across a 5-week stretch is not sliding, she is loading. Thank you, fellow Filipinos. Thank you, Team Puyat. The fight continues, and I'll see you again in Europe. She is already visualizing the Filipino flags in Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and Paris. She is thinking of Team Puyat, the army of fans who stayed up past midnight and traveled across the globe to chant her name. They are not a fair-weather crowd. They are 115 million people who have been waiting for a champion, and they follow her everywhere. After a great win, I'm not all that good, and after a bad loss, I'm not all that bad, so I have to look at it very objectively. The 5-2-week rolling structure punishes breakthrough players most brutally at the exact moment they should be celebrated. It turned Eala's most extraordinary week into a liability. But Eala already knows the truth. World number 45 is just a snapshot. It is the price of being extraordinary in year 1 and paying for it in year 2. The clay season starts in 6 days with 0 points to defend, 5 confirmed tournaments, and a 20-year-old athlete who practiced in the rain while the world number 1 stayed indoors. The WTA ranking system took 16 places from Alex Eala this week. She is going to spend the next 5 weeks taking every single one of them back. Europe is waiting. If this situation made your blood boil and you're riding with Eala back to the top 30 and beyond, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Lynn starts April 6th, and a girl with nothing to defend and everything to prove is the most dangerous player on the tour.